Hello, welcome to Algebra 1B class. I'm sorry that I'm missing you guys today, but if you watch this video, this will tell you everything you need to know. Feel free to pause, rewind, and go through this. Just make sure you follow all the steps and complete all of the work, and I will check in with you tomorrow. Let's get started. So here's your warm-up. Please pause this video and take a minute to get this down on your warm-up sheets. All right, let's go through. The steps to simplifying the square root. First thing you have to do is to make a prime factor tree. Second thing is you look for pairs of factors and take them out. All right, number 2, let's simplify. So first I'm going to make my factor tree. 60 can be 6 times 10. 6 can be 3 and 2. 10 is 5 and 2. So there's my prime factors. I'm looking for pairs. I have 2's. So I can take out that 2, but I have this 3 and this 5 that then has to stay under the square root. I can multiply the 3 and the 5 together and I get 15. And then in addition, I have this 3, negative 3, that I have to multiply the whole thing by. So my final answer is going to be negative 6 root 15. All right, number 3, combining like terms. Here's my p squareds. I combine them. 3 minus 2 is 1p squared. And then I have negative p and positive 6p. I add them together and I get plus 5p. And then the plain old numbers, or in other words, the constants, I add together and I get 1. And notice that's in descending order, or in other words, standard form. All right, moving on. So here's our agenda for today. You already should have taken your Blockbuster quiz. Your homework is going to be the Advanced Radicals and Proportions worksheet. Your test review packet is due the next time we see each other on day 1, which I think for everyone is going to be Thursday. And then your test, depending on the class that you're in, is either Friday or Monday. Check on Schoology if you're not sure what day that is. Make sure you pick up a new Blockbuster, the Cycle 3 Blockbuster as well, all right? So you should have already taken your Blockbuster quiz. Here's homework answers. Take a minute, pause the video, check your answers. All right, so I'm going to ask you to find a partner for the day. So if you could find someone, look at the first 9 questions from the homework, and find someone that kind of did the opposite of you. For example, if you got a 9 out of 9 correct on the homework, please find someone who maybe got a 1 or 2 or 3 or 4 correct on the homework, because you guys are going to work on simplifying more square roots. And I want one person to kind of be the teacher and one person to kind of be the student. Now take a minute and think about what the teacher's responsibilities are and what the student's responsibilities are. You guys should be working on this practice together. You should be working at the same pace. You should be giving each other help, asking questions, answers to all of the problems. So you can see it says simplifying radicals practice. There's 15 questions in your packet, the first page. The answers to those 15 questions are on the second page of the packet. So you can pause the video and you can get started working on that. All right, guys, so now that you have done some more practice with simplifying radicals, let's get into it. On the Keystone, you're going to see harder problems. They're not going to ask you just to simplify a radical. So let's look at a couple examples. These are types of problems that you would see on the Keystone. What value of x would allow the expression to be simplified further? Keep in mind, what does simplified further mean? It means, going back to the warm-up, that you have a pair of prime factors under the square root. So take a minute and jot down these steps. You can pause the video, write these steps. I'm on the note sheet. This is the second page of your packet for today. Do you see where it says list the steps that we would use to answer the question above? So write down those 2 steps. And then let's try these 2 example problems. So step 1, make a prime factor tree for the radicand. Here, 14x. All right, so I'm going to look at this 14. 14 can be factored into 7 and 2, and that's it, right? Step 2 is to find a number that matches another prime factor so that the radical can be simplified. Well, if I look at my 3 choices, 13, 7, and 5, those are my 3 choices. If I had a 13 under the square root as well, if I had a 13 in for x, that would be my 3rd prime factor. Do I have a pair? No. So I can cross off letter A. What about if I put 5 in for x? Now do I have a pair? I have 7, 2, and 5. No pair, so I can cross off C. Let me put in 7 for x. At this point then, I have a pair of 7s. It doesn't even ask me to simplify the square root, but I'm going to go ahead and do it just so you see it. If I had 14 times 7 as my radicand, which 14 times 7 would give you 98. So basically that means that this would really be the square root of 98, which could factor into 14 and 7, and then 2 and 7, right? You would have the pair of 7s, you pull out the 7, and you have the 2 left over. Therefore, the expression can be simplified further. Your answer there is B. All right, let me get rid of this, because I got a little messy. All right, so my answer there is B. Let me do the same thing for number 2. 42, I can break that down into 6 and 7. And then 6 is 3 and 2. There's my 3 prime factors. As of now, I don't have any pairs. If I look at my choices, 5, choice A, if I use 5 for x, my prime factors would be 5, 7, 2, and 3. No pairs, right? So I can cross that off. If I used 11 for x, 11 is a prime number, so my prime factors would be 11, 7, 3, and 2. Again, no pairs. But what if I use 35? If I use 35, 35 is really 7 and 5, right? So even though 35 wasn't prime, I can still factor it. And there's my 2 pairs. There's my 7s, right? So at this point then, I could pull out the 7, and this would be 3, a 2, and a 5 underneath the square root. When I multiply them together, that would give me 7 root, 30, right? So therefore, if I plugged in 35, letter C, this radical could be simplified further. All right? Guys, take a minute, pause the video, and try these 5 problems. I'll give you answers in just a second. All right, guys, here are answers to those 5 problems. Take a minute, pause the video, check your work. If you did not get these 5 answers, go back, rewatch what we just went over, get some help with your partner, and try and work through these. All right, next up, I'm on the last page of that note packet that you have, solving proportions. So solving proportions, this again should be review for you guys. The cross products property tells us that the cross products of a proportion are equal. So for example, 3 over 4 equals 6 over 8, right? You know that that's true, and we can check to make sure that that's true by multiplying 3 times 8 and 4 times 6. 3 times 8 is 24, 4 times 6 is also 24, therefore we know that that proportion is true. So use this property to help us solve proportions. I'm going to go through 3 quick examples with you. All right, so letter A on the top of your page. If you cross multiply, 8 times 15 gives you 120. 6 times x gives you 6x. So we have 120 is equal to 6x. Dividing both sides by 6, we have x is equal to 20. And you can always check this by plugging back in. All right, now this is the tricky one. I have to cross multiply. 6 times 3 gives me 18, I know that. But now I have to multiply 5 times x plus 2. Well, you have to make sure you multiply by the entire numerator in this case. So you would multiply 5 and then in parentheses x plus 2. Now what does that mean? That means I have to distribute this 5. So I have 18 is equal to 5x plus 10, right? And now solving this equation, I subtract 10 from both sides. That cancels. I have 8 is equal to 5x. And now I have to divide both sides by 5. And I get x is equal to 8 over 5. Keeping in mind, you should leave your answer as an improper fraction. You should reduce it. It can't be reduced. You should not leave your answer as a decimal, all right? Let's try letter C. So very similarly, we would multiply, I think that's an 8, right? 8 times x, and we get 8x. And then we multiply 4 times x minus 3, right? Got to distribute that 4. So we have 8x is equal to 4x minus 12. Solving for x, you would subtract 4x from both sides. That cancels. I have 4x is equal to negative 12. Then I want to get that x by itself. So I divide both sides by 4. And I get x is equal to negative 3. If you got lost on that, please rewind, rewatch this section. If you were okay, go on and try these 14 practice problems. Pause the video here, and then when you resume, I'll give you some answers. All right, guys, so after you've worked through these, again, making sure you show all of your work, please take a minute, check your answers. You can pause the video at this point, check your answers. If you got some of these wrong, go back, figure out what you did wrong. All right, here is your exit ticket. So take a minute, work through this exit ticket, get this exit ticket from the sub, and you need to turn this in before you leave today. So make sure you show all your work, please, and please do this individually. So before you leave today, you should have turned in the Blockbuster quiz paper. You should also be turning in this exit ticket, all right? So let me go back. You're turning in, so turn in Blockbuster quiz paper. You're also turning in the exit ticket. All right? You are getting an extra day to do your homework. So the homework that was due, I'm going to check tomorrow. So that was the Blockbuster and the, I believe it was the simplifying radicals and combining like terms worksheet, right? So those two things I'm going to check tomorrow for credit, okay? And then the other thing is you need to know what your homework is. Your homework that is your homework for tonight that's due tomorrow, like I said, you have a couple things. You have the advanced proportions and radicals worksheet, and then you also have the test review packet. So I'm going to be checking those two things tomorrow. So tomorrow, advanced radicals and proportion worksheet, and the Unit 1 test review packet. So these 4 things are getting checked tomorrow. And these 2 things you should have already turned in today. All right, guys, if you have any questions, feel free to email me, rewind the video. Thanks for watching. Have a great day. See you tomorrow.